Basement Studios, Jimmy G from the Rose City Rockers, working on setting up a drum mix. And what I do in the studio when I'm doing a project is that I'll obviously set up my template for as many input tracks as I have going on to get the beds done, meaning getting a quality drum track. From there, I've got scratch tracks set up, and then I flesh out my template from there. Usually, and just full disclosure, I've got a full template already set up for all the rhythm guitars, lead guitars, vocals, that sort of thing, because I've been doing this so long. But that being said, once I get my template set up, I don't put any plugins on, except for the headphone bus, to send signal to the drummer while he's playing. Once I get the drum tracks recorded, that's when I take one song, and the one song, especially if I'm doing an album or an EP or that sort of thing, whatever that signature song is going to be that represents the band or the artist, I want to start there and then create the drum sound that I'm really after, if I'm working for somebody else, whatever the artist is really after. In this case, obviously it's the Rose City Rockers, which is the band I'm in, and the signature song that we've really found really resonates with our audience when we're playing it live is a song called "Going Down to Memphis," and it's a slamming tune. It's just a punchy, straight out rocker. So I decided to start with that one, build the drum sound, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate all of the plugins I'm using on this drum track for this particular song, and then recreate them for the rest. The reason for that is, obviously, if you're doing an album or an EP, even a say a A and B single, you want consistency within the drum tracks. You don't want to get 3 songs into an album, and for whatever reason the drums sound totally different. It doesn't make sense. You don't want that. So you want to create a great drum sound, then duplicate it across all the tracks that you're going to be releasing in that bundle. So hopefully you guys can see this. I'm going to move this up and move this in just so you can kind of see a little bit more of what's going on. And forgive me for trying to produce as well as engineer, but hopefully you guys will see. Let's see, we can focus right in on the mixer here. And I'm going to be pulling up plugins as we go. So just going to go through the track listing here real quick. Did I say that? Yeah, I did. Okay, so as you can see, right down this way. So I've got a kick outside mic at the porthole of the kick drum. I decided that just due to the spacing of the live room, to try and get more snap out of the kick drum and more attack on the beater, we actually mic'd the head of the kick drum. So this is this second track here. Then I've got, whether I'm going to use it or not is another story, but I've got what's called a sub generator, which is basically a sine wave that the kick drums are activating, and it just gives a little boom, like on the very bottom end, below 50 hertz. I've subbed all 3 of these tracks into a kick sub, which is this guy right here. Next tracks are the top snare drum, bottom snare drum. They are subbed to a snare sub. Then I've got my toms. My Tama kit is a 4-piece tom rack. So it's a 6-piece drum kit, but there's 4 toms. So tom 1, tom 2, tom 3, tom 4 into a tom sub. Next, I've got overhead left, overhead right, hi-hat, and then I've got a room mic, and all of this is going to my drum sub. Okay, so I'm just going to fire this up. I'm recording this on my Android phone. The sound quality is not good. But it's going to give you an idea of where these drums are at this point. In the studio, they're slamming. So you just kind of have to take my word for it. But let me get... going to run it back to the top of the song. Now, something to add too is that when I'm putting together and working with an artist, and we've got the drum tracks recorded, I want to make those drum tracks sound great all on their own. Like, they should be like, fuck yeah, I could listen to this drum track through the whole song and go, wow, that's killer, and I'm digging the sound of it, without having to add the bass guitar, without having to add the vocal, without having anything else in it. So I'm really happy with where the drums are right now to get the foundation of the mix. The next thing that I would suggest that we do is that I have a notebook here in the studio, and this is the first time I've really dug into recording this Tama studio kit in this conversion with our drummer. So I started fresh, and I'm going through each individual track. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down all the tracks: kick in, kick out, kick in, snare top, snare bottom, toms 1, 2, 3, 4. All my subs, and just make a whole track list for the drums themselves. Then I'm going to go to each individual plugin, and I'm going to, now I'm using Pro Tools 810 HD. Pro Tools is Pro Tools. It doesn't matter what version. They're all generally the same. I'm starting off with the kick outside using a AKG D112 mic. The first thing I'm running it through is a Kramer master tape, just for some kick drum saturation. I want to, we're a blues rock band, so we really want an organic, more analog feel to the music and to our sound. So what all these plugin options give you the option to do is right over here. Hopefully you guys can see this. Let's pull this over. Nope, over here. Okay, right in here. Hopefully you can see my mouse. Right there. Right there. And now I know what a weatherman feels like. Right there is a save option. When I open up the save option, put it into preset menu, right? And then this comes up, and then I can label it my Tama kick out. So I know that when I pull up this plugin on the next template, I just go to my menu settings, which is at load right there. And I open up load, and then there it is. It's listed right there. Right there. Sorry. Right down there. So this is going to make it a lot easier for me to actually set up the remaining templates, go in, pop those plugins according to my track sheet, and then pop it in, and then set all the levels, and we should have pretty well an identical drum mix for all the rest of the songs. So just bear with me. That's what we're going to do right now. Just going to zoom this back out so you can kind of watch what's going on, and watch me take care of this. All right. Hi. Oh, by the way, while you're watching this, feel free to subscribe to the channel, leave your comments in the live chat. I'll try and answer them. I've got a couple of people, Red Trophy, what am I doing? Well, what I'm doing is that I'm actually duplicating my drum mix. Okay, so I've got one song that I'm really happy with the sound of my live drums in the studio, but I've got 4 tracks, 4 songs that we're working on. I want to make sure that the drums are consistent on every single song going forward. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to be going in, duplicating all these settings so I can fly them in on the other templates. Red Trove. Oh, are you going to make beats? Well, yeah, as far as, I mean, I used to work with rap, kind of beat makers and raps and stuff like that. Not really a beat maker. I mean, I can do it, but it's just really not my thing. I'm a real live, organic, instrument sort of ranger, engineer, producer, so to speak. I love working with live drums. Live drums are just so much more powerful. And the beauty of that is that because there's a real human playing them as opposed to just tapping them in and then quantizing them, and then it just sounds sterile. Live drums, man, are the best. So that being said, let me get to work here. I've saved my Kramer tape setting. I'm going to mark that down. The next one, I'm using a low air plugin, which is this guy. This guy is just amazing. Yeah. Probably can't see it all that well, but in Pro Tools there's a this is from Waves, the Waves bundle. Low air on a kick drum just makes it just big and beefy and just smacking on that low end and takes all that crappy mid-range out of it to really make it thump. So I've saved that, but I need to write that down. So low air. Then my next plugin, now I'm EQing it with a stock Pro Tools 3-band EQ. Okay, so it's a Q3. And then my fourth plugin is an actual compressor, but it's a compressor that you can actually go in and dial in the frequencies of the frequency that you want to compress within the kick drum. As you can see, I don't know if you can see this, maybe I'll try and zoom this back in for you guys. You can see right here, I've compressed the crap out of around the mid-range of basically at 250. I've yanked that out, and from pretty much 100 hertz to maybe about 650 hertz. That frequency range on that kick drum, after all said and done, is getting squashed, because that's where the boinginess of a kick drum kind of resides. So I've squashed that out too. So those are my 4 plugins on my kick drum. I'm going to go to my C4 and title this Tama Kick Out. Okay, so I've got that. The final thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my fader settings. My fader setting for the kick out is at 0. My next channel is kick beater head, and that setting is 9.8 minus 9.8 dB. And what do I have on here? So my kick beater head, I've got an SSL strip on it. And then I've got also a C4. So I'm going to go in and save those two. Once again, okay, so I've got this one already saved, but I'm going to save it again. Tama Kick Beater DRD. Tama. Something to, this should say, okay, preset name already exists. Okay, so it's 1. And then C4. Now, as you can see, this is a C4 compressor as well, which compresses frequencies This time, instead of the mid-range, I'm taking out like around 4K, compressing it where the snap is, but at the same time, I've narrowed that bandwidth so it's just basically the snap. When it hits, the makeup gain is just nothing but just attack. Okay, so that's what this guy is doing. I'm going to save this as well. Kick, beater. Something to keep in mind if you are working with Pro Tools. You can save all these. These will save into preset folders. So you want to be aware of that. Okay, and then I've got a kick sub. That's at 0. And this sub generator, I've got it muted. I doubt if I'll use it. I mean, it's there if I need a little more thump on the bottom end, but I'm getting a ton from the kick drum already, so I don't want to just go too nuts on that. So my kick sub, we've got a gate to start off. I use a Pro Tools stock gate. It's the C1 gate. Okay. Next up, I've got a 7-band EQ on that kick sub. Once again, using a stock Pro Tools EQ. As you can see, some pretty severe cuts. I've high passed. Where am I high passing at? I'm high passing at about 45 hertz. Very severe slope, and then cutting at 170. For whatever reason, 170, that's where it just sounded like it needed a cut. Very severe, very narrow Q. My next one, we've got just a little bit of a bump at about 880 hertz. I've got a cut again at about 181.8 hertz of 3 dB, a little bit right there, and then a severe low pass at 600 or 6 hertz back, just to get rid of any like hi-hat bleed and all that sort of stuff that might be happening. So 7-band EQ. It's an EQ3. Okay, we're going to save that. How do we save that? Save settings as. Okay, EQ. That in the kick drum. Yeah, something about labeling all these when you're saving them. Don't do a lot of short form stuff, and then you look at it and you go, what the hell is here. Tama kick sub. And then finally, what I did, I actually put a reverb on the kick sub. The reason for that is that when you're gating kicks, just to get rid of, say, snares and bleed from snares, bleed from hi-hats, whatever, they tend to get a little chopped at the end. So it's like, and it'll just die right off, almost like a sample. So if you add a little bit of reverb back in there, then it gives a little bit of a tail to that kick drum and sounds way more natural. So I added an air reverb. Let's see that. Okay. All right, next up we have our snares. Again, using tape saturation. This time I used real tape saturation. I'm going to just take a moment. One, I've got to plug in my phone because it's about to die. And then number two, I'm going to change that real tape saturation to the Kramer tape saturation, see if we can get a better snare sound. Or it adds a little bit of something to it. Once again, for everybody that's just tuning in here, it's Jimmy G from the Rose City Rockers. I wonder if... Okay, that's not going to work. I'm trying to be a film producer as well as being a recording engineer and producer. It's not easy to do it all at once. Please like our video, comment, subscribe to the channel. That really helps everything out. Especially if you're liking this comment, definitely give it a thumbs up. So what I'm going to do is that, again, going to go and see if we're going to go from that real tape saturation to Kramer tape. We go there. Let's go to snare. This Kramer master tape plug-in, and figures you can't see it. This guy right here. This is a heck of a plug-in. This guy right here. So let's fire up the drum track. Let's see what this snare sounds like. Okay, right off the that's out. Let's put it back in. Yeah, it just gives a lot of more body to it. Okay, I'm digging that. Going to go back to our tape saturation, real tape saturation. And I don't know if there's any presets I can put in there. Yep, right off the bat. For anybody that's listening, I don't know how well you can hear this, But here in the studio, that Kramer master tape sounds way fatter on the snare drum top, as opposed to the real tape saturation. So let's go use the Kramer. And again, we're using, going to drums, going to snare. Holy smokes. Wow, what a difference. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but with this plug-in, Kramer Master Tape, the record level and playback level are linked. Now, when I increased the record level, it decreased the playback level. So I unlinked it and then started smacking it like you would smack analog tape. And just, especially on snares, you want to just clipping, just whacking it. And it just fattened it up so much more. I'm digging that quite a bit. So, snare, top. Something also to remember with all drums, if you're recording anything live, it starts with a great instrument. Our drummer, Joe, he brought in his signature Yamaha snare drum. This is an 8-inch deep snare drum. This thing, we call it the crack-a-lacquer because it cracks. He knows how to play it. That's number 2. And number 3 is recording it properly with a good mic. And you know, the go-to is the SM57. That's what we put on that bad boy, and it just sounds great. It's really cracking real nice. So we're going to save, put into a preset, snare, Yamaha. Gonna put Joe's Yamaha, and he's got 2 of them, so I'm going to make sure that this is the 8-inch. Okay. Next up, once again, I love this C4 plugin. This C4 plugin compressor is like just so good. And what I'm seeing right now, what I've done is that I've focused in on the energies between, say, about 100 and 250, and I've popped that bad boy around 250, just, well, not really 250, but about 180, just to give a lot of thump and smack on the low end. And that really just gives it a lot of air, gives it a lot of energy. So let's save that. Always as well, when you're working in these DAWs, if it doesn't have automatic save function, which Pro Tools 10HD does not, always be hitting save. Like every 2 moves at least, hit save. There's nothing worse than all of a sudden it crashes on you and you lose all your work. Next up, we've got the snare bottom mic, which I used a CAD microphone, dynamic microphone on that one. On this one here, I've got a Renaissance channel. I don't know why that is there. This does not make sense. It's not doing anything, so let's just get rid of it. We've got an SSL. Putting a mic on the bottom is nothing more than getting a little sizzle on that snare. A little bit of the strainers, so we can get a little high-end sizzle on the snare. So all I'm going to do is just add a little bit of strainer. I've got an SSL. Plug in on that. I should be able to just save it. Okay, just save it. Snare bottom CAD. And that channel is at minus 4.6 dB. 0 dB. Minus 4.6. Snare. Sub. Snare. Bottom. Snare sub. Snare sub is at minus 2.8. Okay, so the next track is the snare sub channel. Again, I'm using the stock Protools 7-band EQ. The reason why you have to use a 7-band, even though I'm only using 2, and for whatever reason, I don't understand why they did this, but the high pass and low pass settings are only active in the 7-band version of EQ3 as opposed to just pulling up a 2-band and having that function active. I don't know why that is, but just deal with it. Okay. So we're going to set save settings as. Okay. Next up, this is where things get fun. On this snare sub track, okay, I've got a Bomb Factory BF2A. These things, like these compressors are just awesome. You can you set it as a compressor or a limiter. Okay, here we go. And I'll turn this on and off just so you guys can hear it. Hear how, like, that's just the snare. That's off. Just smacking. Now again, I mean, I'm not completely sold on the settings, but it's a great place to start. So this is BF2A. And these are kind of modeled after the LA2A compressors, which are like just industry standard sort of stuff for snares. Well, for any production. All right, next I'm going to the toms. Saving. All the toms have an SSL channel on it. Tama toms. Okay, those should be good. One through 4 SSLs. And okay, 0. Tom panning. Here's something that I don't know. So many, like the rule of thumb is that you pan your toms real wide. To me, it makes no sense. Although it does make the tom stand out, but your first tom in a drum kit is dead center with the snare, and then the second one is there, the third one is there, and your floor tom is there. I'm trying to, okay, this is down here. So if you basically you're going from 12 o'clock down to about 5 o'clock in real life viewing of a drum kit. If you pan them that way, they're correct, and phasing is a little bit better, especially when it comes to overheads, because it's not, you know, the overheads are picking up the way the drum kit is set up. That being said, I do have them panned traditional, which is far left to far right. It does make the toms pop out more. I don't know. I'm going to make a judgment call once we start mixing, whether it just sounds out of place to have a tom way over in right field and a floor tom way over in left field. It'll depend on the song and just depend on how everything rolls and if it makes sense at all. That being said, so we've got SSL channels on all of the tom tracks. Our tom sub has an EQ 1 band. And tom subs are at -3. So there's an EQ 3 1 band. Why would I put a 1 band on the tom sub channel as a whole? The reason I did that is because basically I'm high passing at 63 hertz. So everything below 63 hertz, any sort of rumbles that are coming from the drums and the toms and bleeds and things like that is being filtered out. So that's just helps clean up the drum tracks and the tom tracks as well. The final thing I've got going on here, we're just going to bump that guy up here. Again, I'm using the L1 limiter for the toms on the tom sub. Once again, just really fattens those things up and makes them smack, as well as being totally solid on all the hits. Okay, next up I've got overheads left and right. Hopefully you guys can see this. Okay, which is here. Okay. Overheads, pan far left, far right. I've got 3-band EQ. on these guys. So got Q3. And they're set at -5 dB. Next up is the hi-hat track. And that's set at -6.8. On the hi-hats, I'm using a Renaissance channel EQ. So we're going to save that. Okay. Didn't like that. Let's just cancel all of that and try it again. For some reason, it just doesn't want to. Okay. Now, my room mic. I took a different approach for a room mic. I put a CAD or an Equitech 300 behind the kit, facing down at it. That's -5.2. We got a lot of stuff on this one. So first of all, I've got a Protools stock EQ using the Q3. Gonna save that. Next up, I've got an SSL channel. Tama Equitech 300. Okay, we're gonna leave that. Kramer. So next thing, okay, so I did some EQing just to get some woofiness out of the room, which is basically around 500. Then I put an SSL channel on there, and that was some fine-tuning EQ, but this is the real cool guy right here, is the Kramer Pi, and it's a compressor, and there's a setting in here called Super Smash Closed Rooms, and yeah, it just kind of really just kind of mashes that room mic up a little bit. Save that. Then the final thing is, I put this on, yeah, I don't know. Whether it does a whole lot is beyond me. The theory about live drums is that to get them really, really kind of punchy and smacky and that is to take that room mic and just kind of squash the crap out of it and kind of almost make it distorted, and it just gives more of an aggressive drum sound. I'm debatable on whether I like to do this or not. This is going to be one of those kind of mix it to taste type of things. At this point, oh, it's on spike. Why is it on spike? Let's just have a listen to this real quick. So this is just the room mic itself. This is with what's called an NLS channel. And once again, this is with the Waves program. It's included in there. That's without it. To my ear, it just puts a little more energy like in the lower mids of the drum kit, just to make it smack a little bit more. I mean, you're just trying to wring out as much you can out of your drum kit and out of your drum mix. Whether I save it, I use it, you know, kind of is what it is. Let's see if we can save this mic. Just going to save it for now. Whether I use it later is beyond me. I don't know. So we got that. Drum room. SSL. Kramer Pi. NLS. And then our drum sub. Is that 0? So on our drum sub, here's what we got here. First thing I want to do is I just want to keep my phase in check. I want to make sure that everything is not becoming phase inverted at any point. I'm also checking my frequencies and just making sure that I'm not getting anything below 31 hertz, which I'm not. The maximum amount of energy is right between 125 and 250, which is where I like it. The mids basically are being sucked out, which I like that too. It's got some crack in the 1K to 2K range, and then it's got some sizzle up in the 8 to 10 12K range. So, I mean, we're looking pretty good as far as the drum setup goes right now. Next thing I've got an LA2A, once again by Waves, man. If you don't have a Waves package in your Pro Tools DAW, you definitely got to get one because Waves makes great plugins. What I've got this set to is the hard drum group. I'm going to save this as our Tama drum sub. Okay, save that. So I like where that's smacking. And then the final thing, once again, going back to an EQ3 one band again. I'm doing a high pass at a 35 hertz. Again, just to roll out any muddiness down below. I don't want any going on. I want this to be nice and clean. So again, there's no such thing as really cleaning up and diving in and just really cutting on this sort of stuff. So it's PAS on LA, CLA 2A, and then EQ3, one band. I'm going to save that. Next up, okay, so here's something that we want to take a look at. The way I mix drums, the way I like to mix drums here is I've got a drum reverb track just for drums. And not only just for drums, but just for the where are we at here? The snare drum itself. I just put some reverb on the snare. I'm using a deverb from Pro Tools. It's, for whatever reason, set to large. I didn't want it that large. I'm going to reset that. But so I've got a reverb, but then I'm gating the reverb because I just want to expand that snare drum and make it bigger and fatter without going all over the place and smearing. Okay, so I've got the drum reverb at 8.3. I'm using a deverb. We're going to save. Okay, so I've got the deverb, and then we're gating it using a classic gate by Pro Tools. Okay. The final thing I did, I've got a secondary reverb. This guy right here. Okay. When I'm setting up my main reverb channel, I load all of my reverb inserts with all of my reverbs. And I go through and I monkey around with them and test each one of them. And I use the drums as a reference for the actual room I want the band to sound like they're playing in. So here's what I've got. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reverbs. The one I've got up right now is the Renaissance reverb. I love this reverb, Renaissance. It just gives it that classic vibe. So I'm going to say this is the RCR medium room. Rose City Rockers, baby. So it's the Rose City Rockers medium room setting. I'm going to shut that off. My deverb. I'm going to go in and save this guy because I think... Let's cancel that. Nice. Okay. Shut that off. Our next reverb is an air reverb. These ones are kind of unique. They have some unique sounds to them. It's all right. Don't mind it. True verb. Let's see what this guy sounds like. It's not bad. Again, if anybody's got comments or questions or whatever, I'll get to them as soon as possible. Please like the video, give it a thumbs up. Definitely subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing a lot of these lives to hopefully help anybody out that's, you know, recording your own band. We're kind of blessed to have a really, really nice studio setup, Indebasement Records. And that's where we've cut a lot of albums, but I've really sunk a lot of money into it and got some really top-end gear to make records, and that's what we're doing right now. So we're going to save this guy. Let's have a listen. The IR1 full. Man, it's a sweet reverb. It's a sweet reverb too. Anyway, so that's what we did. Okay, so what I've done, I'm gonna just blow this back up here and get me back in the situation room. What we've done, for those of you guys that are paying attention and still with me, thanks for the 1 thumbs up. I appreciate that. What I've done is that I've gone through all my plugins. I've marked them all down. Reverb. This is from the drum sub. That's at 0. IR. True verb. Air. Verb. And R verb. Okay. We're finally done with that song there that I made the template of, is going down to Memphis. What we're going to do now is we're going to go to a new song, and we're going to input all this stuff back in. And I don't know where you guys are watching from, but it's 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'm in Windsor, Ontario. And I'm going to have to wrap this up because I've got another gig to go do tonight. So I'm going to see if I can get through this as much as possible just to show you guys why I'm doing what I'm doing. I am going to make this a brand new save as. Good day. Let's do that. All right, so what we're going to do, I'm going to go over to our drums. I'm going to try some drums. Why is that missing? Okay. So I'm going to use this, my track sheet that I've made all my settings. I'm going to go in and set it up exactly the way the last song was set up. So we're just going to get rid of all this stuff. Start over. Harmonic, Kramer tape. There's our guy right there. I'm going to load in our setting. Tama kick out. There we go. I'm going to do this. Low air. Low air. Load it. Tama kick out. Next up, Q3. Q3. Load it. Tama kick out. C4. Load it. Tama kick out. Cool. Never send an output to never send an output to an input. That's exactly the same. Because that's what happens. All right, 9/10s. It's 1, 2, 9, 10. Our drum sub is 9, 10. We go to our in-outs, buses. Here's something that helps you too. When you go to your in-out setup in Pro Tools, label your inputs, your outputs on what they actually are. So what I'm doing, once again, let's dial you guys in here. Okay. I'm going through my aux buses, and I'm actually labeling them what they actually are. Instead of like, say, bus 5, 6, it's actually the tom bus. These are the symbol. Symbol bus. 9, 10 is my drum bus. So that's good for now. So that way I can actually look and see where it's going rather than trying to figure out what bus is routed to what number. And All right, so we've got that. My kick beater, SSL. That should be good. Next up, I've got a C4 mono. I'll load that kick beater. There we go. And that was set at kick beaters 9.8. Kick sub 0 C1 gate. Okay. I've got EQ3. Shit. Damn it. All right, so I forgot to save my EQ setting for my kick sub, so I'm going to have to go back to the original song and go grab that, but we're not going to deal with anything more than that right now. Why is there not a limiter on this? There should be a limiter. Actually, let's save that. Reset, limit this. And going forward, we're going to be recording a lot more music. These are the first 4 tracks off our new album. So this template that you saw me save with all my drum settings is now an actually official template, so I'm not going to have to do this nonsense again. Yeah, that's okay. EQ 7 bands, kick sub 7 band. There it is. Okay. Let's save it. And then here. Not sure who else is watching, but hopefully you guys are getting something out of this. Once again, it's tedious work recording albums. It really, really is. It's a lot of trial and error, that's for sure. And there we go, 7 band. There we go, beautiful. Load. Okay, and then reverb. That guy there. insert. Okay. Snare top. Once again, we're going for Kramer tape. C4. An SSL. Snare bottom. This is an SSL. Should be the same. Snare sub. 2, 3. Damn it. And this is why you need to save. Because it just crashed on me. That's the other thing about working with computers. Man, oh man. Sometimes you do something and it just doesn't like it, and then you got to start all over again. And if you have any questions, not sure how we're doing in chat here. We only had a couple of people chatting in. Please leave a like, subscribe to our channel. We've got more videos coming up about how we're going about making our new album. Hopefully some of this information helps you out. If you have questions, by all means, leave them in the chat. We're growing the Rose City Rocker Army, one subscriber at a time. So, just a little tour around the studio here. We got JBL 4311s in the back, a set of Mackie 6-inch powered speakers, IK multimedias as well. That's what we're using to monitor on. Hopefully I can get this done and complete for this song anyway before I have to sign off, because I gotta go. Mm. All right, back to where we were. Let's load this guy in. That's not it. Kick. 7, there we go. So, save, here. Where, that's what it was. Okay. Snare, top, Kramer tape. Turn this is on there, yeah, slot 3. SSM. Snare sub. 7 band. Toms. Pans. Tom sub EQ3 1 band. L1 limiter. All right, hopefully you guys are still with me. Just trying to get through this as fast as possible because I gotta go. So I've subbed all my toms to my tom sub, all my snares to my snare sub, kicks to the kick sub, cymbals to the cymbal sub. Tom sub should be at -3. Cymbals 5. Hi-hat -6.8. Q3. Okay. Drum sub. Path analyzer. LA2A. And EQ3. Not sure what this is going to sound like, but we're going to find out. We're pretty close anyway. anyway, I'm real close. There's a couple of little tweaks I got to just go in and check. But that's the idea. You want to set up your template. You want to get your drums cracking. And then you want to duplicate that for all the rest of your songs. Going forward, again, I'm going to have to do this for 2 more songs. But now that I know where the drums are going to sound good for this album, I'm saving that main template as my recording template going forward. And then now I'm not going to have to do this like for the rest of the songs because it'll already be set up. Jimmy G for the Rose City Rockers, Indebasement Recording Studio. We're down there putting our album together. We'd love to have you guys as a fan and follow along on our journey about making blues rock music in a world where nobody really gives a shit about bands anymore. Anyway, so long as it's entertaining and you guys are having fun and watching us and maybe learning something along the way, we're glad we could be of help, and we're glad to have you guys on board. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment. We'll see you on the next video. All right, have a great day, everybody. Bye.